Hi, I'm Ryan Davis.
And I'm Kiernan Schmidt.
And this is Out of Office, a travel podcast.
This seat taken.
Hey, Kiernan.
How are you, Ryan?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Oh, I'm feeling real good. Thank you for asking. And you're sounding. I'm just closing my eyes. I'm going into the force. I'm feeling that you are not in Brooklyn. I'm
not in Brooklyn. I'm in Guayaquil, Ecuador.
Okay, that's pretty far. God, I genuinely never know where you're going to be in Latin or South America when you come on.
Yeah, well, this is one of those miracles of AT&T internet because my phone internet is stronger than my hotel internet.
Oh my God! Wait! Because you've got one of the grandfathered in limitless data.
I'm never leaving AT&T because I have unlimited global data. Yeah, they gave it to me and they regret it. I'm sure it comes up at meetings. Like this one guy is using so much international data.
He's in the middle of the jungle. He's sucking up all of our data. He's streaming music videos in the middle of the Amazon.
Exactly,
sucking it all up.
I'm watching Taylor Swift streaming. That's as bad as gay porn.
Have you watched it?
No, it's not. It's not playing in Guayaquil, Ecuador.
It's not, sure. So in other words, you're going to have to get one of those. What do they call it? What's that service where you can choose a
VPN?
Oh, VPN. Yeah. So you got to get a VPN and then use your unlimited data to stream the Eras tour there in Ecuador.
Yeah, she didn't come down to Ecuador. She's in Mexico City.
I bet she's been to Ecuador.
No, they don't have a big enough stadium for her. Either does Bogota.
Taylor Swift been to Ecuador?
I mean, she might have been here. She might have gone to the Galapagos, but
I just want to know. I think it's really important. Let's see. I see that she's been in Argentina.
Yes, they have
with the Eras tour. She's been there in Argentina. The Eras tour in Ecuador.
No.
Looks like maybe there was a change.org petition to get her. Oh my God, there was a change.org petition from Ecuadorian fans to get her to come to Ecuador. They had a goal of 2,500 signatures. They made it pretty darn close. 1,900.
That would barely fill a Broadway house. She's playing 70,000 people stadium.
Something tells me if had she gone, she could have filled up the stadium, Ryan. It's Taylor Swift, for God's sake.
Well, Bogota also lobbied and they couldn't make it happen. So, it's a big tour.
Well, it's very impressive. Well, and this is
she's a very impressive woman. It's true.
very,
to say the least about Taylor Swift.
I'm sorry. I was saying it was very impressive that you're recording a podcast via unlimited data.
Yes, well, that is impressive.
Catherine and I, we have a plan. We run out every month on day 10. It's insane.
I've never had that life.
And then you suffer through slow end. Anyway, it's a nightmare. Ryan, we do have to talk about sometime how people get reliable internet when they're traveling overseas. That's a good idea for an episode. I'll note that down here. But Ryan, you are far overseas. So you tell me, what are we talking about today?
I'm not overseas. I'm south.
Okay. Oh, well, sure. See, now I would consider South America overseas because, there's a canal between us. That's a sea, right?
Yeah, it's a very narrow canal. It's true.
What, you're suggesting I'm driving from Boston to come visit you right now?
No, you can't go. You can't go south of the Darien Gap. We know that there isn't a road. It's a shame though. That would be exciting.
Oh, right. Yeah, there should be a road. Well,
they've talked about it for years, but no one can get it done.
I definitely think another good idea for an episode. Let me just note that.
World's longest road trip.
Yeah. Ryan. Well, we should look up who had the world's longest road. That'd be a good guest to get on. Hold on. A good idea for an episode here. Now, Ryan, you tell me, you're starting to go so far afield. You're going to places that I'm unfamiliar with. So tell me, where are you taking us today?
Yeah, we're going to talk about my trip to Bahía Solano. And this is not a typical Ryan trip. A typical Ryan trip is restaurants natural wine, restaurants on list, theater,
going
museums.
into churches, but not attending mass.
Yes. Well, yeah, I did that yesterday here in beautiful church here. Yeah. I didn't attend mass, but I went up to the woman and I thought I had to buy a ticket. So I'm like, uno boleto. And she kept looking at me and she's like, She's like, Libre.
It's a church.
It's a church. And I'm like, oh, okay.
It's a church, you idiot.
she should have just taken my money. I had a $5. I was trying to force it on her, you know. And the first time the Catholic Church has turned down $5.
Right, the only ticket taker at the Catholic Church is the Holy Spirit.
Yeah,
and all we demand of you is that you leave your sins at the door and come in to be cleansed. I would have been a good priest. And you would have been a good priest too.
Yeah, my mom says we dodged a bullet on that one.
Well, we dodged a bullet because we used to spend time with priests so much. But I think we would have been just fine. Yeah. Imagine, oh my God, Ryan, imagine a world where we both became priests and we were at a parish together. It would be a hoot. And it would be
like that HBO series, The Two Popes.
Which pope do I get to be?
You're definitely Francis. I'm the one with
I think so too. I'm glad you said that. Yeah, you're Benedict.
Your Spanish is better than mine. So
this is the best. This is a great idea for a show. This is a great idea for a livelihood. We should consider it. They do. I know. I have a friend who is the daughter of an Episcopalian minister who is married, converted to Catholicism. He's a Catholic priest with a wife and a daughter. So I'm just saying there's an opening. There's a way. Yeah. There is a way for me to get there.
These days, they've really lowered the standards. They need priests pretty desperately.
All right. So we're going to talk about, and you said it's pronounced Bahía Solano. So give a sense, maybe we should save all that for takeoff.
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing we should do with it, I guess at this point.
I'm very excited. I like when you bring new places.
We should thank everyone for the tremendous response to the Rick Steves interview. Our Instagram at OOO Podcast blew up with a photo of the three of us together.
Absolutely. I mean, this is what happens when you have a quest for 5 years. It's big news when you put it out there. And I still have a little bit of the Rick Steves afterglow. Can you see it?
I can see it. Yeah. Yeah. You're not smiling like you smotted him, though.
I've never smiled that large before. It was so goofy.
It was embarrassing.
I had people texting me saying, I can hear you smiling in the interview.
Yeah, I should just post like a carousel on Instagram of the random faces you did in reaction to Rick Steves.
I tried to have a very serious face.
Very serious.
When he was talking about serious things, but it was hard.
Yes.
I really had to think about it, and I couldn't really listen very closely.
Well, tremendous response. Thank you, everybody, for the love, and people were excited that we finally got Rick, and so I think this quest now for Stanley Tucci, which I need to come up with a name for.
I'm not as bought in that this is actually something that we need to do. A quest for Stanley
Tucci. Are we going to turn Stanley Tucci down if he comes to us? We're going to say no.
It just doesn't have the ring of the quest for Rick Steves.
Well, it needs to be something Italian for Stanley Tucci. What's Italian for quest? I don't know.
That I don't know. I'll work on it. But we could just do it in the accent. The questa for Stanley Tucci.
This is very insulting to our Italian listeners.
Oh no! Now Stanley Tucci won't come on. I'm not on board with a quest for Stanley Tucci, but yes, thank you to everybody who wrote in. It was great to hear that you were all as excited as we were. We still think Rick's insights were invaluable. If you're joining us on this episode and you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to that. Pause right here and go back and listen to that. It's the best episode we've ever recorded. And if you discovered us through the Rick Steves interview, welcome. I'm Kieran, and that's Ryan.
Yeah, I'm Ryan, and we've been doing this podcast for over 5 years now.
And we like to gather here every other week to talk about travel topics, large and small. We do city guides, we do country guides, we take questions. We have great guests from all over the travel world, including Mr. Steves, of course. And, we're going to put him at the top of the pantheon. And hopefully maybe we could leverage that to get that New York Times travel editor back on the show this year, Ryan.
Yeah, no, I think I feel the momentum. So thanks to all the new listeners. And, Kieran, a couple people were concerned about my drinking, thanks to your comments last week. And
hold on. I just want to be clear. I cut out most of it.
Yeah, no, it was like 6 minutes about my drinking, but we cut it down to 45 seconds.
You came at me and you said I looked 5 years older. And I said, I think I'm looking at more like 7 or 11 years older because of all the drinking.
Yeah. Well, I want to let you know that over the weekend from Friday to all the way Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I took a drinking break. You'll say, but Ryan, the drinking break was mandated by the Ecuadorian government because you're not allowed to drink over the weekend of election weekend.
I know this was because there was an election and they have one of those laws. Amazing.
So Friday at the end of the workday, I go down to the hotel bar and I'm going to sit at the pool and I'm going to have a gin and tonic. And I say, a gin and tonic, please. And she goes, no. And I'm like, no, but I see you yesterday. And she's like, we can't serve any alcohol until Monday. And the look on my face, it must have been like, somebody died. Just total horror. And so I took a break. It was not a big deal. I barely thought about it throughout the days.
Is that real? Did you really barely think about it?
Well, I had two fancy meals. I had fancy meal Friday and a fancy meal Saturday night at the two best restaurants here in Guayaquil. And it was tough to eat at these beautiful restaurants and see this incredible bar and everyone's drinking Coca-Cola and mocktails.
Couldn't they make an exception? You can't vote there. It's clear. It's obvious. You couldn't even read the ballot.
No, I tried. Believe me, I winked and a nudge, but it didn't go over too well.
Going, votar. What is this language? I don't know what that means.
They elected a guy younger than both of us, president, 35.
35 years old. They shouldn't be president. Unless it's Mayor Pete. You can't be a 35-year-old president. Yeah. Come on.
He's a banana heir, an heir to a banana fortune.
I don't think that's. Well, you should speak to it as someone who inherits a lot of bananas. Hello.
There's money in that banana stand. Let me tell you.
Amen. I think I have a couple questions. One, did you know that this law was going into effect? Were you aware Ecuador had this rule?
No. And I got here on Thursday and I had dinner and I ordered, sensibly one or two drinks. And I never considered the rule. And then I found out the next day and I'm like, I wish they had told me because maybe I would have gotten a little bottle of wine for the room.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh my God, of course. Okay. So you weren't aware. Boy, talk about, me, hyper planner. I've never thought to look this up, but okay. So this is a great tip to take away. If you're ever heading to a country around election time, you better look whether they have any of these laws.
Yeah, there was no drinking all weekend. They have in the law here is you have to vote or you pay a fine.
So did you vote?
No, I didn't vote, but I endorsed the young handsome candidate to anyone who spoke to me. But no, I didn't vote.
All right. Well, Ryan, I think with that, it's time for us to get into the meat of the episode, really to tip back the bottle. We want to just get sloshed with all the alcohol that we can now that it's past election time. I think it's time for us to take off.
Tell the cabin crew.
Flight attendants, prepare for takeoff, please.
All right. So, Ryan, I don't know. Did we even say it's in Colombia? Did we say that Colombia is what we're talking about?
Yeah, we are in Colombia. We are in Bahía Solano, Colombia. Which is sort of a region, a municipality, if you will. It's not a city, but it has several kind of small cities in it. It's more like a county, you could say. But what's amazing about this place and why I went is because every year humpback whales come to mate. And it becomes like
it's been a big, get that name somehow, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's become a big tourist destination over the years, but it's in the Pacific coast of Colombia. So Colombia obviously has, like we do, they have the Atlantic and the Pacific. So they've got very different climates, very different wildlife, et cetera, on both sides of the country. This is on the Pacific side. And from July to August is sort of the peak time, and then until November, you can see these whales. So I went in September, and near the end of September, so got to see some whales. We're going to talk about that. But this was really not a Ryan vacation. This is more of like a Kiernan, Peru vacation, like really. I think I texted you and said, "This is the most isolated place that I've ever been."
Yeah. You don't tend to go as far. It sounds to me like, obviously you're using your cell phone to record this. So it is pretty far afield.
Yeah. So when I was in Bahia, there was no cell service. So that's how far afield we were, right? We landed and we had to we took a prop plane. So I'll talk a little bit about the prep because there was some prep to get here. Had to get my yellow fever vaccination. I hadn't had that. You probably have had that because you've been to the Amazon.
Oh yeah, I love the yellow fever.
Yeah,
doesn't that one give you nightmares? Isn't that the?
I didn't have any. Yellow fever itself is a nightmare, but luckily,
God, I feel like maybe I took yellow fever for like a Southeast Asian trip.
That would make sense. Yeah,
yeah, and I could swear there was some like really vivid nightmares then. Good. But what's especially special about it is you get that special card for your passport.
I love that card. It's
the best. It's the best.
But it's the only one that I have. There's other spaces, so I got to get some more vaccines. I got to collect them all, like I do with the COVID vax.
That's interesting. Is it a vaccine card? Because I got like a yellow card that you like put inside your passport.
Yeah, it's like a yellow card that rolls out and has like other spaces, so I can get other vaccines.
Oh, interesting.
For
because I'm super pro vaccine. Even if I'm never going anywhere near where this thing is present, I want that vaccine.
Well, they will get you in New York. I paid like $200 for this vaccine because I had to go to like some tropical place to get it done.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember when I went to Myanmar, I had to get some pretty far out there stuff pretty quickly. And that's a good little business. Yeah,
it's a great business, especially in New York. People traveling all the time. And then he tries to, I have to pay a fee, a consulting fee, whatever that is. I'm like, I know what the vaccine, I know where I'm going. I know what's required for me to go.
I know, but don't they give you like a load of printouts about like the country? And
no, he tried to get me to
give me like a file.
Yeah, he wanted me to buy malaria pills off of him. And I had already read about this and most folks do not take the malaria pills. Malaria is not that common in the region. Like there's outbreaks occasionally, but it's not in the sort of touristy areas. So I decided to not do that because I've heard that they can be, not comfortable. But if you are somebody with a weaker immune system or something, you might want to consider the malaria pills. Although it can take up to a year to show symptoms. So jury's still out if I made the right decision on that one. Another thing, and this wasn't something I took seriously enough. The Airbnb host said, bring cash. And I'm like, okay, I'll bring cash. Wow. She's like, there are no international ATMs. Mm-hmm. So that international word threw me off because I'm with a friend from Colombia who has like a Banco Colombia ATM card. So I think, we're going to be fine between the cash I'm bringing, between his ATM card. It's going to be fine. Not only were there no international ATMs, there were no ATMs.
No ATM
at all.
Sure.
And nobody took any credit cards. So people are only taking cash. They prefer smaller bills. Of course, I went to the ATM, so I've only got, larger Colombian bills. Everyone hated me like everywhere I went this whole time. Luckily, our Airbnb host, I was able to transfer her some cash and she was able to give me cash. So that was a lifesaver. The Airbnb host was great.
We've actually talked about this phenomenon in the past because
Cuba.
I had Cuba for you. Yep. And for me, there were two. One was in Myanmar, you have to go and bring extremely crisp U.S. bills. Yes. That's what they want. But the more difficult one that was akin to what you're talking about, being very far out there and away from sort of infrastructure systems like a banking system. When Catherine and I were in Guatemala and we went to Tikal National Park, where we had to take a small plane to get there, and they say to bring cash. And I brought what I thought was enough cash, and then on the last day, we only had enough money to do one activity, and the bird watching, which is what we really wanted to do, was like just out of the reach of the amount of cash I had. It still haunts me. Reason to go back. Still haunts me that we didn't get to do that, and instead we did a zip line course because that was like within the amount of cash I had in my pocket. So from then on, I always vow anytime I see that this warning in a travel book, I always bring way like double, triple the amount of cash that I think I might need.
And I should have known better. And again, if it wasn't for the Airbnb host who was able to give us that cash, we would have had to forego one of the 3 tours that we did. So I'm so glad that she was able to help us out. Link in the show notes to her Airbnb, which I'll talk a little bit about.
Very nice. Yes.
Yeah. your phone won't work. You can buy a SIM card there that maybe works, but even then, my friend did that for his Colombia phone, and he had service like 1/3 of the time. So you don't rely. You're not going to really have your phone. And there are a lot of hipster hostels. So this is like a big backpacking trip. We met people from France. We met people from England. We met people from Scotland. A lot of Europeans coming over to do these like Colombia. I don't know how these kids do it. They're like 25. They're traveling for like 9 months. I'm like, where have you coming from? They give me like a list. I'm like, that's crazy. I'm like, well, what's next? And they give me like I'm like, that's like a life. You're doing like a life tour. So
yeah, it is much more popular among European youths.
Yeah.
So are they backpacking?
They're all backpacking. Yeah. So they land. So. They're super nice. We met like a lot of these folks, but the hostel community is serious in this town. So it's a beach town where there are a lot of hostels, and then there are some Airbnbs. But when I say town, I mean there's probably like 1,000 people, 2,000 people. This is like a really small community. So there's not a huge tourist infrastructure built out because. People come to do this, but it is not a ton of people. In fact, the arrival, there's only a handful of flights a day. Most of them are from Medellin. So we flew from Medellin on a prop plane, my second prop plane. Fun, those are always fun, watching the propeller go and being like, this plane is 45 years old, and
it's just so loud. It's so loud.
Yeah, and it was a lot of turbulence. So already, like going there, I'm like, all right, this is different. I when a prop plane, there's a lot of turbulence. I'm flying over mountains. This is already like Indiana Jones-esque of situation.
It's funny. This episode's really highlighting exactly what you said. It does sound like more of a Kiernan trip than a Ryan trip. This is exciting to hear you out there.
No, it was exciting. So we landed at the airport, and when I say airport, I mean building with the one airplane, the one that we just landed. And we'd arranged travel. Thanks again, the Airbnb host arranged travel from the airport to the Airbnb. So this involved getting in a kind of old white van with 8 seats, completely filled, all 8 seats, probably 9 people, with all the backpackers and my friend and I. And we are in this van, and we're driving for 16, 20 minutes. No paved roads. Okay, super bumpy.
Wow. Yeah.
Going over like. Kind of creepy bridges and places where if another car was coming, we had to stop and back up, and the other car had to go. And it was a whole event. I'm already like, this is more of an event than I'm used to. I'm used to sitting in the back of an Uber and texting while I'm like being whisked away. So. People are getting dropped off at their various hostels once we get to El Valle, which is the town that we stayed outside of. We actually stayed in a national park next to El Valle, but this was sort of the town. And we get dropped off last, but he drops us off and he says in Spanish to my friend, somebody will come get you. And then he goes away.
Oh,
and so we're sitting there.
Something you want to hear.
Yeah, so we're sitting there, and I've got my friend has a big backpack. I have my little carry-on bag and like a second duffel bag. I have the most luggage anyone has ever brought to this place. Okay. Mm-hmm. I don't know this at the time, but you come with like a backpack here, not with luggage,
and you're famously an overpacker, Ryan.
Right. Well, I left my massive bag in Bogota.
To check a bag. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't check a bag.
No, but
you can't check a bag.
Even your pared down bag is it's going to attract some attention.
Well, here's where the problem happens. So we're waiting, and we don't know.
Did you have your Panama hat on?
No, my Panama hat was destroyed.
Why? What happened?
It got wet, but I'm going to a place this weekend where they make Panama hats. I'm going to buy one there. So more to come on that.
Oh, thank God. Our national nightmare is over.
So we wait for like a half an hour. We don't know who we're waiting for. Phones doesn't work. There's no way to check, anything to see what's happening. We just have to rely on the fact that someone's going to come from the Airbnb and get us. And then a man shows up, very handsome, well-built gentleman, 6'3".
Okay. All right.
And he's on a motorcycle. Okay. So already you see the problem here, Kieran. As I've got a lot of luggage and there's one guy on a motorcycle.
Yeah, very handsome guy on a motorcycle.
He was a very handsome guy. That part wasn't the,
were you
part.
embarrassed about the size of your luggage when he pulled up and he was so handsome?
Yeah, I mean, I think his luggage was probably larger than mine but yeah, it was embarrassing. He saw the luggage and was like, "Who is this?"
Penis joke?
That was a penis joke.
By there? Okay,
it was a penis joke. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, your own sort of banana inheritance.
So
all right, keep going.
So we have to get on this motorcycle. And he puts my hard luggage, my bag.
I bet that wasn't the only thing that was hard on that motorcycle.
Well, believe me, I was trying not for that to happen because we were very tight
were you
on the motorcycle.
Directly behind him?
Yeah, I'm basically pulled up against him like we're married or something. I've never been closer to another human.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure it was so hard for you that you got that position on the motorcycle.
Well, I had to because he was the tallest, I'm the second tallest, and my friend was the shortest. So that that's how we fit on the bike. So the driver of the bike.
Height is the way that works.
Well, weight, I don't know. So he's got this. He's got my suitcase on his lap. I've got my duffel bag on smushed up against me because there's no room. And my friend is grabbing onto me. So we're three people on this motorcycle built for one with luggage. It was really ridiculous. And we start driving. Everything's fine. We're going down on it's not paved road, but it's a solid dirt road that's been ridden on for years and feels good underneath. It felt fine.
I bet it did. We're bumping up and down. Pretty good.
Then we come to a bridge. And this is like this bridge is a suspension bridge with like chains. And it's missing boards. I'm going to post a picture of it.
Oh my God,
missing
amazing.
many boards. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what are we going to do here? Like, we can't take this motorcycle over the bridge. But no, we could, Kieran. We could take the motorcycle over the bridge.
Is there like a chasm, like a bottomless chasm?
We're going over like a river that was full at the time. But when the tide went out, it was just marsh. So we're going over this thing. I am like not having a good time at this point because every time we go to a place where there's no board, I'm thinking, well, this is it. But the driver doesn't even register any of this. He's just like, this is his. He does this every day. Yeah. We get over it. I'm like, well, the worst is over. Then we come to like a second smaller bridge, and I'm like, oh, this is nothing compared to that one.
With even fewer boards.
No, this one was fine. So it's all going fine. We pass this bridge. I'm struggling to hold on to my suitcase, and he's moving along. And then we get to like the beach. So we're off the road. We arrive at the ocean. The thing about motorcycles are they're not really built, in my mind, to drive on the sand of a beach. Because they slip and they slide.
Sure.
So we pull in this motorcycle, and all of a sudden we're like sliding all over the place. I'm like, I'm going to die. I'm going to die right here on this beach. We're going to fall over. I'm going to break a limb. I'm going to
have so many changes of clothes all around me.
I'm going to have to be airlifted to a hospital in Medellin, like an hour away. The whole thing's going to be a disaster. I was completely not happy about the scenario. But then we get to the house, and the house is lovely, and we check in, and I'm calming down. There's Wi-Fi. Weirdly, it's the fastest Wi-Fi in all of Colombia. I don't know how she did it. It's amazing. And the house is lovely. It's like the top. The bottom is sort of the little living area, and the top is the bedroom. And the bedroom basically has like open air windows all around it. And there's no air condition. It gets hot during the day, but at night it cools down considerably, and the wind comes in. But this was my first time sleeping in a mosquito net, which I know you have done.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Been there.
I don't love the mosquito net.
Peru was a big mosquito net trip.
The thing about the mosquito net that's really creepy is when you go to bed and then you wake up in the morning and there's just bugs.
There's bugs all over the place. Yes.
And you have to get out.
Here's where, I had this problem because, I usually get up to pee once a night. And in Peru, we stayed at a lodge in the Amazon where, you'd go to bed. And then the other thing was the bugs would come all over the floor, too. And so you can't like walk to the bathroom because you're going to step on a whole bunch of bugs. Then what, you're getting your sheets? Well, you bug all over your feet. It's crazy.
The first night when I got up to go to the bathroom, and also like I was like chronically dehydrated because I sleep in I'm like David Letterman. I sleep in freezing cold, like air conditioning.
Sure.
I'm like Bernie Sanders. I want that air conditioning.
This is a reference to the fact that David Letterman, who has not been on the air for 15 years, used to keep his television studio very cold. Is that cold. What this reference is?
Yeah, you know this. You're a Letterman guy.
I mean, do I know that? Yeah. You know, I happen to have worked at David Letterman.
Yes.
Thank you. But you're alienating the young listeners.
We don't have that many young listeners.
He was like the Trevor Noah of our time.
Yeah. So I like it very cold. It was not very cold. It wasn't too hot, but the weird thing would be like the caked bugs. And I got to the point in the middle of the night when I would wake up where I would just kind of flick. I would just flick bugs off of the mosquito net. And
of course,
there would be bugs that were so big that they were like, is that a bug or is that technically an animal? You know,
and were they on the floor?
They weren't on the floor. No.
Oh, interesting.
That would have been.
So
that
you
would have been
get to the bathroom.
Yes, you could get to the bathroom. Yeah, if you could find all the lights, and you know, it's a whole. It was a whole thing. But that was sort of my experience. So the first night I had difficulty opening it without letting the bugs in. Mm-hmm. But then I got really good at it. I got like expert at like how do you open it exactly without the bugs kind of tilting into your bed. You don't want that because it's gross.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Yeah. I did. But open air is it's a special situation. You do have to train for that.
But there was one thing that was magical about it is every night we were there, without fail, there was a storm like Noah only has experienced. Like,
wow.
just incredible rain, incredible lightning and thunder. It was absolutely thrilling. I loved it. You would feel the before anything would happen. All of a sudden, it would just get cool, and then you would kind of see hear some rumbling, see a little lightning, and then the lightning would just be completely insane. And I could go to the porch and just watch, you know, over the forest, and if I went to the other side over the water, just this incredible storm. So I love that. I'm going to post a little video I took on the last night because I couldn't believe how crazy those storms were. So that was probably my favorite thing. Is this a regular
occurrence at like this time of year?
I think it's like, you know, it's like this is where the ocean meets the mountains meets the rainforest. It is just a very unique climate that they've got going on there. And there's just a lot of storms. Cool. Yeah. So that's sort of that whole experience. Now let's talk about some of the tours. We took a whale tour, and you know, there were no kind of like companies or anything to link to really about some of these tours because they were set up through my Airbnb host. But you know, every day there was like 2 or 3 boats doing this. So it's a very kind of small operation where there's like a guy in a boat and he'll take you out. So we probably had 6 people on our boat, and we went out and we saw whales right away. And they were kind of just like hanging out in the water. They were kind of, you know, they didn't really care that much about us. They were kind of scooting around.
They were in the middle of the act, right?
They were in the middle of the act or post, you know, having a cigarette. You know, it was tough to tell.
Now, when they smoke a cigarette, does it go in the mouth or in the blowhole?
In the blowhole, of course.
Sure.
Yeah. So, you know, and that was fine. It was cool to see them. I actually haven't seen a whale from a boat before, so that was cool. But I was a little disappointed we didn't get like more interaction. But then we went
open to have a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot to say. I've seen Star Trek: The Search for Spock. You know, whales. You know, I'm making only references from the 80s today.
Well, you know, space whales are now a part of Star Wars recently.
I don't want to hear about that. Nobody. So then they took us to this beach that's sort of north of the town, and we stopped there. It was a beautiful, secluded beach, part of the national park that's right there. And I'm wearing I brought, because I know what I'm doing. I brought these little like slippers that you wear on the beach, so you don't step on like rocks, and you know, for sensitive souls like myself. Sensitive souls, get it?
Oh God,
I know.
You would kick me off the podcast if I made that joke.
But I didn't have any idea that we were going to hike up a waterfall on this day that I decided to wear this. So we get to this.
You probably
beach.
had what, 30, 40 pairs of shoes and all that luggage?
I at least had tennis shoes, so we would have had some traction, not beach slippers. Cascada El Tigre is the name of the waterfall. It was absolutely gorgeous, and we hiked up for like an hour and a half, and this is sort of like one of these hikes.
And you were just slipping in your beach slippers the whole time?
Slipping all around in my beach. I fell twice. I felt once so badly that the guide came to like check on me, like was there like a legal problem about to happen? I mean, it was slippery, Kieran. It was steep and it was slippery, and it wasn't like a hike where we're walking. It's one of those scrambles where you're on your hands and your knees and you're crawling up a waterfall.
Man. Wow.
So it was a lot for me. And of course, our guide is like this 22-year-old kid who's like the Colombian Huck Finn. He's like jumping between the rocks, and he knows like every place to go. And he didn't understand why I was like so slow. I wasn't the slowest. There was this Colombian couple who was slower than me. He didn't like. He was having. I actually loved it, but it was difficult. And
I love first of all, I'm really enjoying this recounting. I'm like waiting every time. And the mental pictures of you doing these things is wonderful. It reminds me of when you tried to do that. Was it cave climbing, or you had to descend into a cave?
Oh my God. The rappelling down that was, yeah.
And little children were yelling how scared you looked. And
I'm constantly getting little children to feel sorry for me when I'm doing these things.
It's great. You and your little slipping down the waterfall.
Slipping all around. But I made it to the tip top, and there was a kind of separate waterfall on the top, and we got to swim in this astonishingly clear. Is it like a lake? I don't know where the water falls into, and you could even go up to the waterfall and stand underneath it and get like a waterfall massage, and it was amazing. It was truly magical. Wow. And then on the way back down, I fell again. But I had taken my shoes off, so I only fell once, and I fell because I got a little like ahead of myself. Like the guide was like, you should do this way, and I'm like, no, I can do the way you're doing. The difference between you and me is 20 years and 40 pounds, and
some traction.
And some traction. Yeah, he was barefoot.
I got a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Had they forewarned you that you should have normal shoes?
No, we didn't know what days the tours were going to happen because everything is about the weather. So we knew there was going to be X number of tours, and the ones we wanted to do, and basically at 7 a.m. they would come get us. They made us breakfast every morning at the house, which was decadent and lovely. And then
you just scrape down the mosquito nets. You do throw a little butter on the little salt. Perfect.
Oh my gosh, the seafood it was cooked by this woman she cooks for several houses around there, and she was amazing. I love the food. We were very lucky to not have to eat in a little town, for sure. And then on the way back from this beach, we get back on the boat. They took us to another little beach. We had lunch. It was lovely. The hermit crab situation is off the charts. Do you have a hermit crab as a kid?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. I have never seen wild hermit crabs before, but you would lift up a rock on this beach and 1,000 hermit crabs would scurry around. And hermit crabs are the silliest animals, the silliest of the crustaceans.
This too, in recent Star Wars, they've introduced a species based on the anatomy of a hermit crab.
Well, they're very silly creatures.
Ahsoka know that. They're very silly, yeah.
Because they all have different little outfits, and they all look ridiculous in their outfits. And it's like, who are you guys kidding?
Says the man in the beach slippers and the Panama hat.
And then they fight over different outfits. It's like gay men at a Zara sale. So.
All right, okay. Cross that joke off the list.
So
the freaking
very cool.
Belt.
And then on the way from that beach, we got to see whales breaking, which means they jump out of the water and they fall. And we didn't see it that many times, but it was super cool.
That's really neat. Yeah.
And then we got to see a handful of really large turtles. going back
Can
out
I just
to
ask
sea.
on the whale front? I know that you didn't swim with the whales, but some of these tours do sometimes get to swim with the whales, right?
That's. I think that happens earlier in the season when there's more of the whales. So I actually had a really good time on this trip, and I would totally go back. There's a couple of things we didn't get to do, and I would go back during peak whale time, that June, July, although it's probably hot as really hot. But yeah, we didn't get to swim with the whales, but there's like a diving thing and a snorkeling thing. We were only there for we had 3 full days, and all the days were booked and busy.
I'd like to come with you when you go do it again.
I'd like to that would be fun.
I probably will sing the song from Disney's 20 Leagues Under the Sea. Got a whale of a tale to tell you, lad. A whale of a tale or two. I don't know if you know that song, but I'll be singing it a lot.
I don't know that one. But that's not one of their best. That's one of their best musicals. One of the best known Disney shows. So another tour that we did, I'm going to link in the show notes to this one, was to a place called Tortugas del Pacifico, which is Turtles of the Pacific. And this has been
that was a spinoff of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I remember.
We made a lot of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles jokes on this tour. So this is a hostel on the beach, even further up than we were staying. So we had to get on that motorcycle, do the beach ride. We got up there. And what they do is they collect. So in the night when the turtles lay their eggs, they are out on the beach and they're waiting for the turtles to lay the eggs. When the turtles lay the eggs, they go and they grab them and they re-bury them in a secure place. And the reason they do this is twofold. One, the turtles have natural predators who will dig up and eat the eggs. And, there's other things they can eat. And two, poachers will go and dig up the eggs and use the eggs for food or sell the eggs. But these are basically endangered turtles. So they dig them up and they put them in this big field of turtle eggs, essentially. And they were telling us all this, and they showed us a big field. And then I'm thinking like, oh, the tour's over. Like, this is cool. But all these turtles are like, they're not hatched. So we're not going to get to see any turtles. And then they take me to this little building, and they hand all 6 of us huge buckets full of baby turtles that were born like an hour ago, which is super cool. I mean, they're so amazing. Little. They're super little. They fit. They can fit in your hand. They have the funniest looking things, and we all walked out to the beach, and we released our buckets at this very specific line, and then we had to guard the turtles from the dogs because there's some not feral dogs, but there are a lot of dogs just hanging out, that on the beach, and they love these little turtles. They look delicious. I don't blame them.
See, it's funny. You're so kind to these turtles, and you're so mean to the hermit crabs. But really, I feel like the idea is kind of the same.
No, the hermit crabs are not endangered. They're the opposite. They're like an infestation of hermit crabs. When I post a video of these hermit crabs, you'll be horrified. The amount of them. When you drop the turtles, you witness the world's slowest race to the ocean as hundreds of turtles race. Really fantastic. The sad thing is only one of the 1,000 will actually live to sexual maturity and come back exactly where they were born, and they lay their eggs 15 to 20 years later.
Wow.
So it is super important that they get to walk on that beach and kind of imprint where they're coming back to. And then
very cool.
A couple things to wrap up. We went on a night hike. This was a hike up a mountain in the night, where I had to wear like a thing on my head like I'm a miner.
So many wardrobe
comments
on this tour.
Saw a lot of ants and spiders and a snake. The dude on the hike did this thing. We saw a snake, and my instinct is we should run and scream. And his instinct was to reach down and grab the snake by the head to show me that the snake, he could hold the snake, and to ask me if I wanted to hold the snake by the head, this wild snake that he just ripped off the ground of the mountain. I didn't want to hold it. But I was, it's interesting to see. And the whole thing was like 3 hours. I had no idea how long this night hike would be. In my mind, a night hike is like an hour, and then you have champagne or something afterwards, right? No, this was like 3 hour hike up a mountain. And then we get to this place where they built these like little narrow bridges, not even bridges, like it's basically like a slab of wood over these massive crevices. And I hate heights. So I have to walk through this thing and I'm just like, I'm going to faint. I'm going to fall and die, in this mountain. And they're all like, my friend and the guide have to be like, it's okay. It's okay. I'm like, is it okay?
Always getting comfort. Yeah.
I know. Is it okay? Anyway, I was very, very unhappy by the end of the hike because they kept lying to me about how many boards I had to walk across these crevices. And by the end, I was just like, I don't know I don't even care if I make it home. But I did. And this was there one night that we went out on the town. And out on the town means you go to Altria Hostel, which has the bar in the town. Everybody, when I say everybody we'd met, it was like the end of the movie where you go and you basically see all the characters again. The people we had been in the van from the airport, people we'd been on tours with. We're just the woman who ran the house,
crab, the turtle, the snake.
basically exactly like that. So we all have drinks. It was super fun, and then the power goes out, completely out, totally no power, and we're like, oh gosh, we got to figure out a way to get home. Luckily, the woman who ran our Airbnb was there, and she was able to talk to a guy who'd been drinking for sure, because everybody had. And then we took a night motorcycle ride from this hostel all the way back to our place. It was like a half an hour motorcycle ride. It was thrilling. I didn't mind it that much because I'd had a few drinks. I was like, whatever happens, happens. At this point, I've already walked over crevices, and the fact that I've survived this means I'll probably get home.
It's incredible. Yeah,
we made it.
Got home just fine.
So I'm going to link in the show notes to that hostel. If you go, they have these amazing coca cocktails that are well worth trying.
Wow.
Yeah.
Base ingredient of cocaine.
Exactly.
Well, Ryan, you are made of sterner stuff, and that was one of the great adventure episodes we've ever had. So
thank you.
Super interesting. Bahía Solano was the name of it in Colombia, right?
Exactly.
I was totally unfamiliar. That was a great episode. Well, with that, Ryan, I think it's time for the last stop.
The last stop.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the last stop on this train. Everyone, please leave the train.
Well, Ryan, we're here in the last stop. This is the final segment of the show. It's the last segment of the show. It's where the name comes from. It's my favorite segment. It's your favorite segment. And it's popularly known as the People segment. And it's because it's when we come together to share of ourselves to the community of Out of Office listeners. And what we could share is could be a memory, could be a plan coming up, could be an article we read, could be a souvenir, anything, as long as it meets one criterion. It must inspire the spirit of wanderlust within us, even during the workaday week. So Ryan, we are running short on time. So I'm going to ask you quickly, as I ask you every episode, do you have a last stop this week?
I do, Kieran. I have been reading Colombian fiction, trying to learn more. And I read a book that actually takes place in the town we just talked about. It's called the BITCH. I'm not going to say that because we sometimes have younger listeners, but it's about a dog. And it's written by Pilar Quintana and was nominated for a National Book Award. And it's a fantastic short novel about a woman who grows up in this town and her tragic relationship with one of the dogs I was telling you about that almost eats the turtles. So wonderful book. Check it out. Good. Do you have a last stop, Kieran?
Of course I do, Ryan. I'm still basking in the Rick Steves glow here.
I know.
It made me go back and leaf through a whole bunch of my shelf here of all these Rick Steves guides. And, really just looking back, it reminded me all these walking tours of his that I did. And it was so great. And I just thought we could end today's episode recounting one of Rick's most memorable pieces of prose, which is when he was describing the Philological Museum in Iceland, which is to say the Penis Museum. So I want to quote Rick Steves here to say, "You'll see more wieners than you can shake a stick at, preserved pickled peckers floating in jars of yellow liquid. You'll see a seal's schlong, a wolf's wang, a zebra's zipper trout, a fox's frankfurter, a giraffe's gherkin, a dog's dong, a badger's baloney pony, a squirrel's schwanz, a coyote's crankshank, a horse's hardware, a reindeer's rod, an elephant's equipment, and lots of whale willies." I mean, this is Rick Steves at his best.
Ooh, love a whale Willie.
I can't wait for interview number 2 with him, Rye.
And Kieran, next week we are talking about the bears.
Bear safety. We've been
Bear
bringing
safety.
stories about dangerous bears out in national parks, threatening people. We're going to talk about how you can go into bear country, but be safe.
Be safe.
This is an episode we've been talking about for a long time, and our nature lovers have been begging us for this. So if you're going to bear country, this is the podcast for you.
Well, until then, I'm Ryan Davis.
And I'm Kieran Schmidt.
And this is Out of Office, a travel podcast.
This seat taken.
Saw some whale dong out there in Bahía Solano.
I bet it's perfect time of year for whale dong.